always believed that trust is the strongest thread in a marriage. Doesn't break instantly. It weakens slowly, day by day, moment by moment, until one small pull tears it apart completely. I just didn't know that my own thread was already hanging by a single fiber. That evening nothing felt special. It was an ordinary Wednesday. The kind of day where life feels predictable and boring. My husband, Daniel, came home late from work again. His tie was crooked, his hair messy, and he said the same line he had said for months. "Sorry, sweetheart. Long meeting. You know how it is." I wanted to believe him. I truly did. I held on to those excuses because believing otherwise would mean accepting a truth I wasn't ready for. But fate has a strange way of forcing your eyes open when you refuse to look. I placed dinner on the table, roasted chicken with garlic butter, his favorite, but he barely looked at it. He ate in silence, distracted, phone face down beside his plate. He kept glancing at it every few seconds, as if waiting for it to light up. And maybe that's what made me notice something I'd ignored for too long. His nervous fingers. His shallow breathing. His forced smile. Something was wrong. Terribly wrong. After dinner, Daniel said he needed a quick shower. He left his phone on the table, a rare move for him. Lately, that phone had become an extra limb. He took it everywhere. Bathroom, garage, even while brushing his teeth. But tonight he left it behind. Maybe he forgot. Maybe he wanted me to trust him. Or maybe fate wanted me to see what I had been blind to. When I heard the water running, I walked toward the phone. My heart pounded so loudly it drowned out the shower. I tried to convince myself that checking it would break trust. But deep inside, I already knew the trust had been broken long before this moment. The screen lit up before I even touched it. A message appeared. From a saved contact with no name. Just a heart emoji. "I miss you." In that moment, the world didn't shatter loudly. Didn't explode. Simply cracked. I stood there, breathless, staring at those 3 words. Words that should have belonged to me. Words a husband should only hear from his wife. My legs trembled. My hands shook. I felt my entire body become weightless, like my soul had stepped outside myself and was watching me fall apart. Then another message came in. "When can I see you again?" Again. 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 That word stabbed deeper than the first. This wasn't a conversation that started today. This wasn't a mistake. This was a pattern. Routine. Something ongoing, comfortable, familiar. Tears blurred my vision. But I didn't make a sound. The woman inside me, the wife, the lover, the partner, felt crushed. But the woman behind her, the fighter, the thinker, the observer, woke up. And for the first time I didn't fall apart. I didn't scream. I didn't panic. I simply planned. Picked up his phone. I unlocked it. He still used the same password he'd promised to change months ago. And then I typed a message back to her. A message that would change the rest of the night. "Come right now." I stared at the sent message. My heart thundered, but my hands were steady. Too steady. That's when I realized something inside me had shifted. He broke something in me. But he also awakened something he never expected. And it was only beginning. I placed Daniel's phone back exactly where he left it, screen down like nothing had happened. My breathing steadied, my tears dried, and something new settled inside me. Cold clarity. In the bathroom, the shower still ran. He wasn't coming out anytime soon. But I needed every second. I walked into the living room and sat down, replaying everything in my head. For months he had been distant, cold, unavailable. First I blamed work. Then stress. Then myself. But it wasn't me. Never was. He had already given the emotional part of himself to someone else. And now I wanted to see her. Not to fight. Not to scream. But to understand who she was. Who he chose. Who he betrayed me for. I heard the phone buzz again. "Really? Now? Are you serious?" Followed by, "Okay. Come." 20 minutes. 20 minutes. 20 minutes until the stranger in my marriage walked into my home. 20 minutes until the truth stood in front of me. My heartbeat slowed. Strangely, I felt calm. Not peaceful, but controlled. Like I had stepped into a version of myself I didn't know existed. I walked to the mirror and looked at my reflection. My eyes were swollen, but the expression staring back at me wasn't fragile. It was sharp, determined. I smoothed my hair, wiped away the last tear, straightened my posture. Then I whispered to myself, she thinks she's coming for him. She has no idea she's walking into me. The water turned off. Daniel stepped out of the bathroom, humming lightly, as if my world hadn't just fallen apart because of him. He didn't suspect a thing. His phone was still face down. Perfect. He walked over, kissed my cheek like everything was normal, and said he needed to get some work done in his office. I nodded, pretending nothing was wrong. Inside, I watched how easily he lied. How easily he walked past me. How easily he lived two lives. A strange strength filled me. Not revenge. Not anger. Just truth. Soon that doorbell would ring. And everything would be revealed. I turned off the living room lights except one lamp, the one that cast a soft, warm glow across the room. I wanted her to see me first. I wanted her to understand instantly who I was. The wife. The woman of this home. The person she'd been texting behind the scenes without even knowing it. And then, tap tap tap. My heart froze. She was early. 15 minutes early. I walked to the door slowly, every step heavy with anticipation. My hand touched the doorknob. I inhaled deeply. Then I opened the door. And there she was. Not who I expected at all. She wasn't glamorous. She wasn't younger by decades. She wasn't dressed provocatively. She was ordinary. Soft features, simple clothes, nervous hands. Almost timid. Her eyes widened when she realized I wasn't Daniel. Hi. Is Daniel here?" she stammered. Her voice trembled with guilt and fear. But my expression didn't change. My voice stayed calm. "He'll be here soon. Come in." She hesitated. Who are you?" I smiled politely. "I'm his wife." She froze. Her face drained of color. She stepped back, ready to run. But I stepped forward. "No. You came here because I invited you. So now, you'll stay until this is finished." She gulped, terrified. And in that moment, she realized she walked straight into the biggest mistake of her life. She stood in my doorway, trembling like a child caught doing something wrong, and she was. But something in her expression wasn't arrogance. It wasn't pride. It was shame. I stepped aside, letting her in. She walked slowly, her eyes scanning the house, not with admiration but with guilt, as if she finally understood the reality of what she'd stepped into. I motioned toward the couch. "Sit." She obeyed without a word. I sat across from her, keeping my posture steady and my tone calm. I didn't want to yell. Yelling gives people excuses. I wanted honesty. And honesty comes out when there's nowhere left to hide. "What's your name?" "Yes." "Emily," she whispered. "How long have you been texting my husband, Emily?" She swallowed hard. "A few months. A few months or several months." Silence. There it was, the first truth in a long line of lies. I leaned forward slightly. "Did you know he was married?" She nodded immediately. "Yes, I knew." My stomach twisted, but my face didn't show it. "Did you care?" She looked down. "I told myself it wasn't serious." "He said your marriage was basically over. That you two barely spoke. That he was miserable. He made it sound like he was alone." Alone. Funny how cheaters always recycle the same script. I exhaled slowly. "Emily, my husband wasn't alone. He had me. He had a home. Life. A marriage." She covered her mouth with shaking hands. Tears formed in her eyes. "I'm so sorry. I swear I didn't think it was like this. I never meant to hurt you." "Then why did you come tonight?" I asked calmly. "If you thought it was wrong, why rush here the moment I texted from his phone?" She froze. She understood the trap now. She came because she wanted him. Because she hoped his invitation meant something more. Because she believed she had a chance. Emily whispered. Please, just let me explain. No, I said gently. You don't owe me explanations. You owe me honesty. So tell me, have you two met before? Have you seen each other in person? She shook her head. No. No physical meetings. We just talked. Lot. Too much. Texted. Flirted. Made emotional room for each other. Sometimes emotional betrayal hurts more than physical. I asked. Did he promise you anything? She hesitated, then nodded. He said he was thinking about leaving you. I felt something break in that moment. Not because of her words, but because deep inside I already suspected it. Emily looked at me with tears streaming down her face. I'm not trying to steal him. Swear. He made me believe he was broken. That he needed someone. I laughed softly, bitterly. Men don't cheat because they're broken. They cheat because they want more without giving more. She covered her face. I'm so sorry. Please believe me. I studied her carefully. She was guilty, yes. But she wasn't evil. She was foolish, naive, and manipulated. But that didn't erase what she had done. Before I could say anything else, I heard footsteps upstairs. Heavy, low, completely unaware. Daniel was coming down. Emily froze in horror. Her breathing sped up. Her entire body stiffened. I didn't move. I didn't blink. This was the moment everything would unfold. The moment he'd walk into the living room and see the two women he lied to, sitting across from each other. Emily whispered, I can't face him, please. You will, I replied softly. You came here for him. Now you'll hear the truth from him, not from me. The footsteps grew closer. And for the first time tonight I felt ready. Not scared. Not heartbroken. Ready. 'Cause now, Daniel's lies had nowhere left to hide. Daniel reached the bottom of the stairs, still wiping his hair with a towel. He looked relaxed, refreshed, completely unprepared for what waited in the living room. He stepped in with casual ease. Hey hun, did you see my foe? He froze, dead still. His towel dropped from his hands. His mouth opened slightly, but no sound came out. There on the couch sat Emily, red, shaking, shame. And across from her me, Teddy, staring at him with eyes he could not run from. The silence was suffocating. Finally, Daniel breathed one word. What? I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. Your phone lit up while you were in the shower, I said quietly. I saw her message. And I invited her over. His face drained of color. He stared at Emily, then at me, then back at Emily, as if hoping one of us would magically disappear. Why would you come here? He snapped at her, his voice cracking. Emily flinched. I cut in harshly but calmly. Don't you dare blame her for walking into a lie you created. I invited her. Now answer the real question. Why was she texting you that she misses you? His lips trembled. He stuttered. It's not what you think. I can explain. Emily whispered. Daniel, please don't lie anymore. Her voice shattered him. He looked at her with sheer panic. Emily, don't. Just don't say anything. So now he was trying to silence her too. Unbelievable. I leaned back, crossing my arms. Daniel, sit. He didn't move. Sit, I repeated. He sank into the armchair like a guilty child forced into a timeout. I turned to Emily. Tell him what you told me. Emily wiped her tears. She looked straight at Daniel, something he clearly wasn't expecting. You told me you were unhappy, she whispered. You told me your marriage was dying. You made me believe you were alone, Daniel. He shook his head rapidly. No, I never said that. You misunderstood. Cut him off. Did you or did you not tell her you were thinking about leaving me? Silence. His eyes darted. His throat tightened. He couldn't even lie convincingly anymore. I might have said something like that, he finally muttered. Something like that. Unbelievable. I felt a mixture of devastation and clarity wash over me. Emily looked at me with guilt. I didn't know it was like this. I'm sorry. He nodded. Apology accepted. But now we need the truth. I turned to Daniel. All of it. Every part. No excuses. No half versions. Tell me the truth. He rubbed his forehead. We didn't do anything physical. Swear. We just talked. Talked? Asked sharply. Or created an emotional relationship behind my back. He flinched like I had hit him with the truth itself. I didn't mean for it to happen. People never mean for it to happen, I replied. But it happens because they let it. He looked like a man drowning in his own lies. Emily whispered, I'm done. I can't be part of this anymore. And then she stood up. Daniel panicked. Emily, wait. I stepped between them. No. Let her leave. She didn't betray a marriage. You did. He froze. Emily walked to the door, but right before she left, she turned to me. Please, whatever you decide to do. I hope he realizes what he lost. Then she stepped outside and disappeared into the night. The house fell silent again. Only now. That silence was heavy with the weight of exposed truth. The door closed behind Emily with a soft click, but the sound echoed through the house like a thunderclap. It was just me and Daniel now. No distractions. No third person to blame. Just the man who vowed to love me. And the woman who finally saw how little that vow meant to him. He sat hunched in the armchair, elbows on his knees, hands over his face like a guilty child. I stood in the middle of the living room, feeling oddly detached, like I was watching someone else's life. Say something, he finally muttered. I tilted my head slightly. What exactly do you want me to say, Daniel? It's okay. I understand. Because I don't. He exhaled sharply. It was just texting. It wasn't real. I laughed. Cold, humorless laugh. Not real. You told her you miss her. You told her you were thinking about leaving me. That's not a typo, Daniel. That's a choice. He stood up suddenly. I was confused. I've been stressed. Work has been. Don't you dare blame work, I snapped. You weren't texting your boss, I miss you, and making her think you would leave your wife. This wasn't about stress. This was about attention. You loved being desired. He looked at me, eyes wet. I never stopped loving you. My heart twisted, but I swallowed the emotion. You may still love me, but you disrespected me. You lied to me. You chose someone else emotionally and expected me to just never find out. He stepped closer. Please, we can fix this. I'll block her. I'll delete everything. I'll do anything you say. There it was. The instant panic. The sudden promises. The desperate, I'll change. That only appears when consequences show up at the door. I stared at him, and that's when something inside me shifted again. I realized I was done being the woman who just hurts quietly. I wanted to be the woman who teaches a lesson. Not out of cruelty. Not out of rage. But out of self-respect. You know what the worst part is. I said softly. You didn't even care enough to hide it well. You got comfortable. Careless. You assumed I would never look, because you assumed I would always trust you. He looked down. I continued. You used my trust as a shield. You thought it protected you. But tonight, it became the knife that cut the truth open. He swallowed. What are you going to do? That was the first honest question he'd asked all night. And I didn't answer immediately. Because I didn't want to react out of impulse. I didn't want to throw things or scream or kick him out immediately. Well, I wanted him to feel what I had felt. The uncertainty. The insecurity. The fear of losing something important. I don't know yet, I replied. But I know this, there are going to be consequences. Real ones. Not just a lecture and a few tears. He stepped closer and reached out for my hand. I stepped back. The hurt in his eyes was obvious. Good. Let him feel a fraction of what he made me feel. Tonight, I said quietly. You'll sleep in the guest room. Tomorrow we talk. And whatever happens, you will not control the story. I will. He stared at me, stunned. He wasn't used to this version of me. The one who wasn't begging, pleading, or crying. The one who was done. I turned away and walked upstairs, my feet heavy but my decision light. The room felt colder than usual. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, letting the reality sink in. My husband emotionally cheated. He let another woman into our marriage. And he thought he'd get away with it. But I had already started something the moment I texted her. Come right now. Now was time to finish it. Not with revenge that destroyed me too. But with a plan that reminded him exactly who he risked losing. The next morning, I woke up with a strange sense of purpose. I knew exactly what I was going to do. Morning light slipped through the curtains, soft and golden, as if nothing had happened. But everything had. Daniel's side of the bed was empty. I heard faint movements downstairs. Coffee cups, cabinet doors, the sound of a man trying to act normal in a house that no longer felt safe. I got up slowly, my mind clearer than it had been in months. I wasn't leaving immediately. I wasn't throwing him out immediately. Anyone can explode and walk away. I wanted something different. I wanted him to see, day by day, what it meant to lose the version of me that trusted him blindly. I wanted him to live with the weight of his own choices. I showered, dressed, and walked downstairs. He was in the kitchen, making coffee like he always did, trying to blend routine with disaster. Good morning, he said cautiously. Morning, I replied, my voice neutral. He watched me carefully. Can we talk? Yes, I said. Sit. We sat at the kitchen table. Two people who shared years of memories, now struggling to share the same air. I started calmly. I thought about everything last night. About us. About what you did. And here's what I decided. He held his breath. I'm not going to scream. I'm not going to throw your stuff outside. I'm not going to post anything online or humiliate you in front of your coworkers. That's not who I am. He exhaled with relief. For a brief second, he thought he had escaped the storm. Then I continued. But I'm also not going to pretend this didn't happen just because you promised to change. I want you to feel this, to see it, to live through it. So this is what's going to happen. I slid a folder across the table. He stared at it, confused. What's this? I contacted a lawyer this morning, I said, my voice steady. Not to file for divorce yet, but to understand my rights, my options, my protection. His eyes widened. You called a lawyer? Yes, I replied. Because while you were busy building emotional connections with someone else, I was busy rebuilding my backbone. He opened the folder. Inside were notes, legal options, separation terms, financial breakdowns. This, I said, is not a threat. It's a boundary. From today on, I'm not staying because I'm trapped or afraid. If I stay, it will be a choice. And you will know that I can walk away at any moment, with legal and emotional clarity. He read in silence, the reality finally sinking in. I don't want to lose you, he whispered. Then you shouldn't have risked me, I answered. I continued. If we even attempt to fix this, there will be conditions. Real ones. He nodded quickly. Anything. I'll agree to anything. I looked him in the eyes. First, full transparency. Your phone, your accounts, the messages. You don't get to have secrets for a long time. He swallowed. Okay. Second, we go to counseling. Together and separately. You will talk to someone about why you needed attention from another woman, instead of growing with your wife. He nodded again. Okay. Third, I said, voice low but firm. You will contact her in front of me and end it. Clearly. Directly. No softness. No maybe someday. I want to hear you say it. His face twisted with discomfort, but he knew he had no ground to argue on. And lastly, I added, I need time. To decide if I still want this marriage. You don't get to decide that anymore. I do. He looked like a man who had just been handed his own reflection. And I could tell he hated what he saw. When do you want me to call her? He asked quietly. Now. He hesitated. then slowly picked up his phone, scrolling until he reached her name. The heart emoji that used to make his stomach flutter and now made his hands shake. He put the phone on speaker. The dial tone felt like a drumbeat. "Hello." Emily's voice came through, soft and wary. Daniel took a deep breath. "Emily, it's Daniel." Silence. Then a tense. "Why are you calling?" He looked at me. He nodded. "No mercy. Just truth." "I'm calling to tell you this is over," he said. "What we did was wrong. I lied to you. I lied to my wife. I never should have involved you in this. I'm choosing my marriage, and I won't be contacting you again." Silence on the line. Then Emily spoke, voice cold but composed. "I hope you actually mean that. Because you broke more than one heart, Daniel." The call ended. He stared at the phone like it had just burned him. I felt no victory in that moment. Only reality. This wasn't a dramatic movie where the villain gets dragged away. This was real life. Messy, complicated, painful. But for the first time I wasn't just surviving it. I was directing it. The days that followed weren't easy. You might think that after a big confrontation, everything either falls apart or magically heals. But it's not that simple. Real life sits in the uncomfortable middle. Some days I woke up hating him. Some nights, I cried silently turning away from him in bed. Sometimes I'd catch him looking at me with guilt and fear, as if waiting for the day I'd say, "I'm done." And the truth is, I didn't know what I would choose yet. We started counseling just like I'd demanded. Sitting in that small office, across from a stranger with a notebook, felt strange. The therapist asked hard questions. Some directed at him, some at me. Why did you look for someone else emotionally? When did you start feeling distant from your wife? When did you stop talking honestly to each other? Sometimes his answers made me angry. Sometimes they made me sad. Sometimes they made me realize how long we'd both been drifting, even before Emily showed up. But here's the key difference. He drifted away and hid it. I drifted and tried to hold us together. There's a huge difference between being tired and being unfaithful. The therapist turned to me once and asked, "What do you want now?" Pause. What did I want? Did I want revenge? Did I want to completely destroy him emotionally? Walk away and never look back? There were days I thought yes. Days when my pride screamed at me to leave because strong women don't stay after betrayal. But strength isn't always about leaving loudly. Sometimes strength is sitting in the discomfort and making a choice that actually aligns with your heart, not just your ego. "I want clarity," I finally said. "I want to know whether this marriage can become something healthier than before. And if it can't, I want the courage to walk away." Daniel listened, eyes glistening. Outside of counseling, I didn't make it easy for him, and I didn't pretend everything was fine. If he reached for my hand, I sometimes pulled away. If he said, "I love you," sometimes I said nothing back. He needed to feel what it was like to want someone and not be sure if they'd still be there. Something he had made me feel without a second thought while texting her. "I miss you." But I didn't sabotage the process either. I didn't throw his betrayal in his face every hour. I didn't poison every moment. That would have kept both of us stuck. Instead, I watched. I watched how he moved, how he acted, what he chose when nobody was forcing him. He started leaving his phone face up without me asking. He told me where he was going, not in a controlled way, but organically, as if he wanted me to feel safe again. He came to every counseling session without complaining. He wrote me a letter one night. Handwritten, shaky, ink smudged. In it, he didn't beg. He didn't justify. He admitted. He admitted that he craved attention when he felt like our life had become routine. That instead of talking to me about it, he chose the easy way out. Compliments from someone who only saw his surface, not his whole self. He admitted that he lied because he wanted the thrill but not the consequences. He admitted that for a while he thought he could have both. His wife and his secret comfort. Reading that letter, my chest ached. Not because of the romance, but because of the sheer ugliness of human weakness printed in black ink. But there was also something else in the letter. Accountability, not excuses. And that mattered. Weeks passed. The storm inside me didn't disappear, but it softened. It turned from chaotic lightning into a slow, heavy rain. And then one morning, as I was making coffee, I realized something. I no longer felt like a victim in my own story. For the first time since this started, I felt like the one holding the pen. Couple months after that night, I received a message. Not from Daniel. Not from a stranger. From Emily. I hesitated before opening it. My heart didn't race this time. I wasn't afraid of what it might say. I was just curious. Her message was long. She told me she had started therapy too. That our confrontation had forced her to look at her own patterns. Why she was drawn to emotionally unavailable men. Why she accepted half love from people who never intended to give her the whole thing. She wrote, "That night when I walked into your home and saw you, I have never felt so small in my life. Not because you yelled at me, but because you didn't. You were calm, controlled, strong. I regret everything about that situation. But I'm also grateful it ended there. You deserve better than what he did. And honestly, so do I." I sat for a long time after reading it. She regretted it instantly that night, when she realized she wasn't walking into a romantic secret meeting, but into the life she had been helping him disrespect. She regretted believing his words. She regretted her part in the betrayal. And she regretted underestimating me. But the story wasn't about her regret. It was about what I did with mine. I had spent so long regretting not checking sooner, not asking harder questions, not noticing the distance earlier. But regret is a cage that keeps you stuck in the same moment. So I made a decision. I wrote back, "I hope you heal and choose better next time. We both learned something from this. Take care, Emily." No hatred, no friendship, just closure. As for Daniel, here's what I chose. I didn't leave immediately. I also didn't stay blindly. We rebuilt slowly, brick by honest brick. Some bricks were heavy. Some days I thought about dropping them and walking away. But I watched his actions, not his promises. He showed up. Consistently. Not perfectly, but truthfully. And I showed up for myself first. I invested in my own hobbies, friendships, independence. I made sure that if I stayed, it wasn't because I needed him, but because I still saw something worth trying for. Do I trust him completely again? No. Trust isn't a switch you flip back on. It's a bridge rebuilt slowly, step by step, over a river of what happened. But I'm no longer that woman who would look at his phone and doubt herself. If something feels wrong again, I will ask. If he lies again, I will leave. Not as a threat, but as a promise to myself. Because here's what this whole story taught me. Sometimes the most powerful revenge isn't destroying someone's life. It's refusing to destroy yourself. It's looking straight at betrayal and saying, "You did not break me. You woke me up." If you're listening to this, maybe you've been where I was. Maybe you've seen a message you weren't supposed to see. Maybe you've felt your heart drop reading something that wasn't meant for your eyes. Let me tell you this. You are not weak for crying. You are not foolish for trusting. You are not stupid for believing the person you loved. Their betrayal is not a reflection of your worth. But what you do after. That is, you can walk away. You can stay and rebuild. You can demand better. You can choose yourself with or without them. When I texted, "Come right now," I thought I was starting a war. What I actually started was my awakening. My husband saw what he risked. The other woman saw what she stepped into. And I saw who I really was beneath the pain. Not just a wife. Not just a victim. But a woman who could stand in the middle of the wreckage and rebuild. Not just a relationship, but herself. And that is something nobody can take away from me again.